Tell us a little bit about your wife, Helen. I mean, when did you find out that she had dementia?
About 4.5 years ago, Helen was found to have dementia. We go every year to America for big checkups at the Mayo Clinic, and suddenly they came out of this out of the blue that they had at the early stages of dementia, and we never noticed it. We had no idea because it's not something you do notice to begin with, and then it progressively gets more involved, and then you do recognise it. But that helped us to get used to the idea. The problem is there is no cure for dementia in the world. I mean, there's no preventive medicine, which is even worse, because that's what we really need to have, because 800,000 people in the United Kingdom have dementia. The cost is astronomical on a global basis. It just costs so much money, whether it be for a nursing home or a home, but because most people can't look after their loved ones, and it costs this country huge amounts of money.
We'll come to what you're trying to do about it in a moment, but how is it affecting her at the moment?
Short-term memory is the obvious thing, but mobility is another element to it. She's dealing with it very well, and we have lots of help. Luckily, being a racing driver, I could afford things that most other people can't. And it's those other people that have got to be cared for and looked after in a way that currently doesn't exist. But the worst thing is there's no end to it. And the terrible thing is, for me, and that's probably most important, there's no preventive. That will come. That's what we're trying to do. Race Against Dementia, this little badge here, there's a broken D. To recognise the fact that we've got this thing I started up only a couple of years ago. It's Race Against Dementia. So I'm going to try and bring Formula One into it.
Can you explain a bit about how that works, Sir Jackie? So is this the technology and the expertise of F1 trying to see how you can sort of accelerate the search in dementia?
Like every activity, there's a culture. And the medical profession is no exception to that. And we have cultures and everything, whatever it may be, even in television. So I've got to change the culture, because for 30 years people have spent billions around the world trying to get a cure for this and prevent us for it, and it hasn't happened. So I feel we've got to change that culture. I changed the culture in motor racing on safety because we were losing so many friends. We had to change the way of doing things. It was not well accepted. I want to change now the medical profession, particularly in research. So we're going to take them to Red Bull and McLaren, all of those PhDs that we're hiring, and we only have 5 at the present time, because it costs £150,000 a year to keep one PhD, and you've got to sign them up for 5 years. So it's a lot of money. It's a couple of £1 million.
And the idea being in F1, things, you notice something could be speeded up, and that happens extremely quickly because of what? Investment in ideas. How does it happen?
It's problem solving.
Right.
They've got a mentality, they've got a department for it in Red Bull, for example, and in McLaren. But Red Bull, we went to first. I took young PhDs from Oxford and from UCL to see McLaren and Red Bull, to see how clean everything was, how each work area was so disciplined, and then how quickly we could find a major solution to a major problem. For example, the Grand Prix yesterday was held in America, in Austin, Texas. This incoming weekend, they're in Mexico. Within those 5 or 6 days, I bet you there's 3 to 4 major changes. Designed, manufactured, tested, simulated, and they're there probably on a Friday night for a Saturday and Sunday. Now that doesn't happen even in aerospace. Formula One leads that. I'd like to bring some of that culture, and we will do it, into the medical profession to try and find a cure for dementia, because cancer now you can live with in most cases, and if it's found early enough, it can be cured. That was fast. But when you think of Microsoft and you think of Apple, how quickly these young people did it. So I'm looking for young PhDs, young professors, and put them into the best units in the world. There'll be some in Britain, some we're going to go to Amsterdam for, because there's a good unit. Up in Scotland, there's a very good unit in Edinburgh. So is there in America, China, India.
Sounds like a brilliant idea. Really hope it works out for you as well.
Well,
you talked about
we hope so. It's
you
a
talked
big
about the F1 this weekend.
Yeah.
What we were hoping was we were going to have a 3-time world champion talking about a 5-time world champion in Lewis Hamilton. But he's not quite there, Sir Jackie.
No,
but surely it's going to happen, isn't it?
Yes, it is. For sure he'll win the championship this year.
And what sort of achievement would that be?
And he deserves it well. You know, the Mercedes-Benz team have been so superior now for all of those years that it's a conclusion that they're going to win the championship, constructors and drivers, as they have done now for too many years almost. But Lewis drives very well. He's going to go on to drive as long as he wants to, and like me, he may get tired of it and retire. But in the meantime, winning 5 world championships is the same as the great Fangio did, and that was my ultimate hero, Jim Clark. Only 2, but he was a fantastic driver, because in those days there wasn't as many races as there are today, and it certainly wasn't as professional or as well financed.
Do you think if he wants to and the team remain where they are, he could double it and go crazy and win 10 if they continue as they...
Question?
He could win 10, he could go on and keep going if he's got that desire to keep doing it.
No, he'll burn out, because as the success brings, you then get... Now he's going into clothing, for example, and other things. He loves music, for example. And sooner or later you get tired of it. I did. I got tired at a very young age. 34 years of age I retired, and I went on to other things. But in those days we drove sports cars, GT cars, Indy cars, Can-Am cars, all sorts of cars. So we were racing a lot more. These guys only do 21 races a year, but there's still a lot of testing, there's still a lot of appearances you've got to do, and you just, like in most sports, you burn out, and he will burn out. He'll choose to retire.
Interesting.
And of course, nowadays it's much safer. In my day, Helen and I counted 57 drivers who were close enough to have lived with us, travelled with us, holidayed with us. But now, and that change was against the establishment. So that's why I feel that motor racing is a good example to even the medical profession, who will not necessarily want to change. And Lewis will go into something that I'm sure he'll change outside of motor racing. We all do.
Well, I really hope you're able to change dementia care as well. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me on.